I have a fair few games that I've either finished or have nearly finished that I really need to get my thoughts down on. But I want to get my thoughts down on this one because I just finished it a little while ago earlier today. Let's talk about Kathy Rain. Probably worth specifying this is Kathy Rain director's cut because I know there is some differences, mostly some additional things that are in it. This is a 90s style point and click adventure. It is a period piece. It is set in the early 1990s and it is a detective story. I'm going to talk about some basics and then I'll give you a spoiler warning and then I'll get into some specifics. The specifics is where a lot of my nitpicks are going to be. I do want to stress at the front end, broadly speaking, I liked this. It delves into some really interesting characters that are very well fleshed out. Kathy herself, the aspects of her family. We don't get a ton of time with, like, say, her grandmother or when issues of her father or mother come up, but like all of it gives more of a full roundness to Kathy as a character. And while the supporting cast in the small town in which she grew up are a little bit archetypical and they're kind of, filling a role, the jerk sheriff, the kind of bumbling deputy, the rich guy who seems to be into some nonsense, etc., etc. They all feel enough like people and not just the archetypes that they might otherwise come across as. So Kathy goes back to the town where she grew up because her grandfather died. Now she's a little bit estranged, not because of anything he or his grandmother did, just because of messiness having to do with her own parents and how that made Kathy's whole life very stressful for a bit. So she comes back and in the process of unpacking some stuff, both metaphorically and literally about all this, she comes across some things that don't quite make sense, that don't quite add up. Having to do with the fact that while her grandfather died only recently, back in 81, something happened that left him not quite catatonic, but let's go with non-responsive. He never spoke another word, and nobody knows what happened. And there didn't appear to be any physical cause of it. And there was also an issue with a young girl who met an unfortunate fate also back in the 80s. And Kathy starts drawing the pieces together to figure out what it was that went on and whether or not there's still something going on. So that's your basic premise. It is moody. The character of Kathy is, that kind of sarcastic 90s style character. So that brings a bit of levity into it because, like, she's certainly not above snarking about certain aspects. But since the overall mood is on the darker side, it's also not afraid to get a bit more serious. It's not like she has to crack a joke all the time. It is, again, 90s style, both in terms of the mechanics, the inventory, use thing on thing, dialogue trees, etc., etc. Every time you get a new item, you're like, I'll ask this person about this item now. It's all of that. And it's also designed to look like it could have been made in the 90s as well, in terms of the style and fidelity on the pixel art. It could have very much come out of that era of PC point and click adventures. And I do like it. Oh, one last thing before I get into spoilers. Mechanically, in terms of the puzzles, not too much moon logic. Most of it tracks and follows. There were a handful of times that I did look up the solutions. That was mostly because I was playing this on stream, and while I'm not going to say I wouldn't look up a walkthrough otherwise, I am going to say I am more apt to do so while streaming because when I get to the point where I'm not sure what to do and I'm down to the brute force thing of try everything in my inventory on every interactable thing in the game until I get a hit, that's a really boring thing to watch, and I'll just look it up. That having been said, when I would do that, I would almost always get a solution that goes, okay, that does make sense. I didn't think of that, and I probably would have had to brute force it to figure out, to get to the point where I did that thing just because of a difference in how my brain works. But none of it came across as moon logic, why would it even occur to me to do that? Yeah, one exception, towards the very, very end, Yeah, I'm only thinking of one that seemed a little Moon Logic-y to me. But then again, that was also in a situation where you have way fewer things in your inventory and way more interactables to do anything with. So the brute force process would have been relatively short at that point. So I guess half pass on that one. But yeah, mechanically, in terms of the puzzle layout, it's pretty solid. It gets the job done. It does delve into some darker themes. I feel like I don't want to overstress this comparison, but I feel like Twin Peaks and or Stranger Things might be decent comparisons in terms of the overall mood and tone of the thing, and also sort of the overhanging darkness as it goes. Now, I kind of was a little bit reluctant to even say that much because it kind of gives the game away a little bit, but that's going to get me into some of my nitpicks about the story because the game itself kind of gave itself away a little bit early. So here's a soft spoiler before I start getting into the hard spoilers. And if you want to stick around for this, I will explain. So I'm calling this a soft spoiler because this is something the game itself reveals way too early. And I was annoyed at it for doing it because there's just a general sort of creeping intrigue and you're not entirely sure what you're looking to uncover. But then, so the game split up into 5 days. Between two of the days, I forget which two, it might have been 2 and 3. But relatively early in the game, between days, we get this, what is presented and talking about like it's a dream sequence, but you just see this bald, black-eyed dude in red talking to some entity that, speaks in just weird sounds and glyphs. And I really wish the game hadn't done that. That might only be in the director's cut. I don't know. But I got real annoyed because I had an inkling that there might be something a little bit supernatural going on, but I was enjoying the build-up, and then it just gave the game away. Oh, no, there's definitely supernatural stuff. Wait till you find out more about this. I'm like, I would have liked to have found that out organically as the story got there instead of trying to tease me with it. But yeah, so that is the direction that it's going. And for the most part, it does handle it well. There's a couple of specific beats and moments that it trips on its own feet a little bit with, but it never fully came apart. And given how touchy some of the subject matter is, I'm actually quite impressed that it did not completely go off the rails, because it really could have. It does waver on those. It's not the most stable thing in the world, but it does not fully go off the rails. And if you like this kind of game and this kind of story, I would definitely check it out. I liked this. Now I'm going to start doing hard spoilers because I want to talk specifics about the narrative. And I want to talk about some of the stuff that this game handled really well and some of the stuff that it did that just ticked me off. Now, I do want to stress most of the things that ticked me off don't fall under the category of like, this is morally reprehensible. This is like really horrifying representation. This is this or that. Like, I'm not saying every aspect of the characters as presented is perfect, but to give you an idea, like there is a character with a mental disability who, boy, the game really could have presented that very callously, or could have done the thing of like presenting it like, and he's dangerous, and it like skirts up to the line of that, but it doesn't cross that line. If you've played the game, I'm talking about Nathan, and like that could have gone really bad. There's stuff dealing with Kathy's history of having had an abortion that it also really could have stepped in on, but it doesn't. Like when I realized where it was going with that, my jaw dropped.
You injured me. Do you regret what you did?
Oh, fuck! Oh, God! Damn! Fuck! Okay. Shit! Like, it bowled me over. And it shouldn't have. Like, I should have seen the pieces, because in hindsight, they teed this up pretty clearly for where it was going. But when it happened, just, oh, wow. And I was real nervous that they were going to completely drop the ball at that point. But they didn't. At least I don't think they did. I think they handled that really well in terms of understanding the very jumbled, mixed feelings, the sadness that comes with what she did, while still knowing that that was the best choice she could have made. Also, stuff about her father. And honestly, a whole lot of stuff about the final stretch in day 5. So like, there's this sort of like absolution from the mother, the stuff with the father, stuff with the son or whatever, and so the stuff with her mother, that is well handled because it doesn't, while Kathy is carrying guilt for having institutionalized her mother, the game does not impose that guilt on her. That's an issue she has because her mother was unwell and unsafe, both for herself and for Kathy. And then when it comes to her father, I was so nervous that they were going to do the thing that I cannot stand and I've gone off a long time against, which is that, well, like, you have to forgive people. A lot of media likes to do this with families, especially. Well, you have to forgive them. That's the only way you'll move on, is by forgiving them. No. And this game agrees, because she decides, like, I'm not going to let my anger at you rule my life anymore. But that does not mean I forgive you. This has nothing to do with forgiveness. This has to do with me and my life and not letting you take up space in my head anymore. Thank you. Those are two different things. You can do that without having to forgive somebody who made your life hell one way or another. So the way it handled all that was shockingly well done and really sensitive. Like, I don't know if the developers had like a sensitivity consultant, but it feels like they did, for the number of aspects that they bring into the story that so many things go south on, so many things badly screw up. Characters with developmental disabilities, characters who have had abortions, characters who carry guilt about family stuff. I've seen the stuff go bad in so many forms of media, and this feels like they either already knew or they brought in somebody who went, okay, let's adjust this so it's not insensitive or dickish or sending a bad message. There's one major exception to that, though, and that's Goober. So Goober is I think he's homeless. He's a homeless guy. His personality comes across like he's I want to say trickster. That's not right. He's like kind of a, gambler. Maybe he's a con artist on a good day, but he's just had such a bad run for so long that he's just like down and out. And the narrative treats him as a punchline to a degree that I'm not super comfortable with. And this culminates with the fact that Kathy tases him as part of a solution to a puzzle. And the game never really confronts that. Like, she apologizes later, but it's this very like, oh, hey, yeah, sorry about that. Like, dude, the hell? The way Goober is framed overall, I don't care for. I think it would have helped if, like, I don't know, he had if he had a house, or like if we could just confirm he like kept a room at a ramshackle hotel somewhere. Because it really did feel like kicking someone who was a little bit too down in the gutter for it to be okay to make jokes about. You know what I mean? I feel like they need to either ease off the jokes or like make him not in such a miserable place. That would have helped. The other stuff that I'm going to take issue with kind of ties into the first thing that I mentioned, which was the giving the game away. While I think the thematics and the sensitive areas that the tail end delves into are handled incredibly well, there were a couple things that really kind of almost ruined it for me. And this has to do with character and direction choices. I'm not going to blame the voice actors, even though I'm about to rip into these characters, including the way that they delivered lines, but I'm going to blame directors for that. So the red man, aka the crimson one, pretentious dipshit, and the doppelganger and or nemesis, whatever you want to call her, that Kathy encounters on day 5. Now, the red man, he shows up in that dream sequence that I hated, and I just didn't like him. There's towards the very end when Kathy's going to go down into the sinkhole, and he's there, and he's monologuing.
All we want is for you to take your medicine, Kathy. For you to grow and be happy.
And I just found myself thinking, wow, this would be hitting so much harder if there was like a disembodied voice that wasn't trying to sound sassy, rather than having to look at this guy and hear this performance. Seriously? This was so unsettling, and then he showed up. His presence literally sucked the tension out of the moment.
Me again.
That having been said, it did not take me out of the moment nearly as much as the frickin' doppelganger of Kathy. Do you know how unsettling it would have been when she first showed up saying her lines about, like, admit it, there were times where you wanted to kill mom. If she had said that while just sounding like Kathy, or maybe even sounding a little calmer than Kathy often is, how unsettling would that have been? As opposed to having her sound like the freaking proto-Joker, right down to having a cackle laugh.
You don't know anything, do you?
Oh God, I hated that thing. I hated the doppelganger so much. And I also think she was completely unnecessary. I think like her presence at all was gilding the lily. All of this was already clearly about Kathy's own damage and psyche. You didn't need her literally having a mirror match with her dark side or whatever the hell this thing was supposed to represent. It was completely redundant. It didn't need to be there in the first place. But if it was gonna be there, having it be this cackling maniac portrayal, like it just fully ripped me out of the moment. Every time she showed up, I was like, God's sake.
Who's your daddy now, bitch?
Oh, for fuck's sake. Don't like that at all. It kills some amazing atmosphere at the tail end. The overall story and the things that it does well at that back end, it does well enough that I still got through and I'm glad I finished it. But God damn it, man. I hated that so much. And it wasn't even that it was the worst thing in the world. It's that it ruined a really good sequence otherwise. Like, I'm so into all of this, and then that thing shows up. I'm like, God's sake, go away. As you can tell, that irked me a little bit. But, like, understand the reason it irked me is because I was really enjoying the game. If it was something that showed up in something that I wasn't enjoying so much, it just would have been like, oh, okay, well, you're a little annoying. But, like, it was ruining a moment. And so it makes me more annoyed. Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah, that's Kathy Rain. It has a sequel out. Came out earlier this year. I might try and get to it before the year's over. No promises. We will see. But I did like it. I have my gripes. Like, it's the kind of thing that this is the sort of thing that like tends to really get under my skin. There are things that are so fixable that it's like I just want to get in the TARDIS, and I just want to go back in time, and I just want to sit on a developer meeting and go, okay, but just that thing that you're about to do, just don't do that. Game would be so much better if you just didn't do that. Yeah, those things tend to irk me because I'm like, it doesn't need to be there. It's so fixable. Yeah, that happened a little bit, but that was all narrative stuff. And I cared enough about the rest of what it was doing to get to the end. So yeah, there you go. Kathy Rain, have you played this one? What'd you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills, enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like, share, subscribe. Those will help. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so just come on back next time you need a break. And now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Jared Boyce, Zubin Fulla, Auntie Kate 808, Mira G, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Movie Turtle, Oliver B, Sean Miller, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Melissa Pedersen, Mary Mello, Becky Sparks, Loki Eris, Tracy Scrabbit, Pal Barabajoggle, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. Don't worry, the rats are all fine, but my rat wrangler is not here right now, and I thought we could have Archie. Say hi. or not.